Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started today. We're super excited to have you. Make sure you go ahead and get signed in. We do actually have the link inside of our chat, so please don't forget to go ahead and sign in with that. And let's go ahead and get started. For announcements. E-board elections are coming up March 16th. Make sure you actually reach out to us in regards to if you're interested in running. We'll go ahead and send out some links so that you can actually fill out. A lot of you have actually expressed some of your interest in some of these positions. However, we're still looking to fill out more of these positions. So feel free to go ahead and reach out to us. It's a lot of fun. You get to do stuff that we are doing this year. And I mean, it's a great experience. Why wouldn't you want to go ahead and run? So it's a lot of fun. Trust me. Upcoming events, Women in Cybersecurity. This is a great conference for any of the women who are interested in getting their start in cybersecurity. This is a great networking opportunity. There is a scholarship. The deadline is March 1st. If you want to know more information about it, just let me know. I will go ahead and get you all the information. The event will be held September 8th until September 10th. And then next, National Cyber League. Austin, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I can do it. So I won't be leading it this semester. It'll be our Madam President, Miss Amber, who will be leading it because she had so much fun with it last semester and she would like to do it again. I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to do it. Quick rundown. Even if you have like no experience, I did it when I had like zero experience, or if you're really experienced, it is good practice and good introduction to different aspects of cybersecurity. Things range from OSINT all the way to enumeration and exploitation. We can also do workshops on pregame before anything happens, because that is technically okay under the rules of NCL for you guys to get introduced to it. And important dates to know, preseason is from March 15th to March 22nd. And then individual games starts March 26th and team games start April 9th. We will be making teams for FAST. We had 3 teams last semester. Hopefully we have more or bigger teams this semester. Will be super exciting. And 2020 registration is now posted in general. So please do check that out. And we hope to see you participate with us and join your fellow e-board in competing. As for professional organizational events, we have our very own Professor Chen doing a presentation for the Security Industry Association. It's going to be a free webinar on February 25th at 2 p.m. EST, and it will be discussing the truth about ransomware. If you have any questions, you can at me at Lynn or at Joshua Chen on Slack if you would like more information. Other than that, I will hand it off to our amazing treasurer, Jackie, to discuss memberships and t-shirts.
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate you. So yes, if you have not paid your membership fees, please come see me ASAP or DM me on Slack. The deadline for your memberships to get your t-shirt is going to be this Friday, February 19th. I would appreciate all of the love we've been getting in our Venmo, but we do need to have a hard deadline. Don't forget your membership will include all these wonderful opportunities, and pizza is not included as we are in a virtual event. Go ahead and the next slide. Also, 2021 graduation stalls. If you are graduating this semester or in the summer, you are and you paid your membership, you do get a stall, but the deadline for this, if you just want a stall, is February 23rd. Please contact me and I will take good care of you. Now, I believe, right, I have yes, the next slide. The next slide, I get to introduce someone who I think is amazing. Alethe Denis is best known for winning the social engineering CTF at DEF CON 27. So she has her black badge. She's also a cybersecurity consultant with Critical Insight. She's also an ambassador for the Innocent Lives Foundation, which is an amazing organization. She's really amazing. I'm so proud to say I know her. I will now, further ado, give it to Alethe Denis to talk about Phishy Little Liars.
You're muted, Alethe.
I am muted. Hi, I clicked on that and it didn't unmute me. Hey everybody, so thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I'm gonna go ahead and share my slides with you. Just give me a mayday if you can't see those. So here we go. Today we're going to be talking about phishing and pretexting. And Fishy Little Liars, Pretext That Kill is a talk that I've done a few times. This, if you have seen it before, is going to be new material. So if you have seen it before, some of the main concepts will be the same, but we are looking at a completely fresh target, fresh intelligence, and we're going to talk about how and what a pretext is, how to develop them, how to find information that can help you to develop meaningful pretexts, and then how you can use those pretexts in phishing, vishing, which is phishing over the phone, even text message phishing or smishing, which is a silly word, but it catches on pretty quickly. And then, of course, in person. In person is the one that I find to be the most terrifying, but honestly, the most fun. So today, without further ado, we're going to jump into this. So who am I? I'm ruining the entire show, and I'm going to tell you who A is from the start. A is me. My name is Alethe. I am a DEF CON Black Badge honoree, which means I have lifetime admittance to DEF CON at no charge. It's also a tremendous honor and huge bragging rights. So it's something that a lot of people know me for. Beyond that, I am a Trace Labs OSINT CTF silver and black badge holder, second and first place, July and August. So the DEF CON edition is the edition that my team and I won last year. I'm a security consultant for the professional services team at Critical Insight, also known as CI Security, at Detect and Respond on Twitter, and a founding member of the DC 209 DEF CON group. So today, I mentioned briefly, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a pretext, how pretexts fail, what the goal of a pretext is, how to create them, how to influence people using your pretext, and some psychological tools. We're going to talk about the process for gathering information, resources that you can find for open source intelligence, and then finally creating and customizing a pretext to your target. And then we will have some time at the end for questions and answers. Disclaimers, please do not do bad things with what you are about to learn. Do not break the law, you won't get in trouble, and don't hack the host. You may learn things about myself or the FAST team, the software that we use, things like that during the course of this presentation. I'm going to ask you humbly to keep that stuff to yourself and not use it for bad purposes. So first of all, pretexting, pretty little pretexts. What on earth is a pretext? So a pretext is a purpose or a motive alleged or an appearance assumed in order to cloak the real intention or state of affairs. So essentially it is like a mask or a veil that you use to disguise your true intentions. And in the simplest version of this would be literally to wear a mask to disguise who you are. And the more complex version of a pretext is what we're going to talk about today, and that is creating the appearance or illusion that you are somebody who is entitled to ask for a piece of information or to access certain systems within a target organization during the course of an assessment, a security assessment. I'm going to assume that you are only going to be using this knowledge in the course of a signed SOW, statement of work, with a client who has hired you to do this, okay? So I'm trusting you to do that. A pretext is something that you are, something that you do, something you have, that's the information we're gonna get to in a minute, all to gain the something that you need. So you have a goal in mind, you wanna use a character, who you are, what they do, say their job title, their role in this interaction, and the information that you have that supports those two things, all to achieve the goal of either eliciting the information from somebody, gaining access to the room that you want to get into, or getting access to the system that you're trying to access. Basically, you want to think of all of this as a cover story. So pretext points of failure. I have watched pretext crumble, my own included, right before my eyes. So we're going to learn about what can break the veil of that pretext, because once that veil is pierced with doubt or objections from your target, it's really hard to recover. So this is how good lies fall apart. A, lack of preparation, lack of doing the adequate reconnaissance or open source intelligence gathering, OSINT. Lack of confidence. You want to choose a pretext that comes naturally to you so that you are confident in it. You also want to make sure that you have the adequate knowledge to back it up. If you're going to call and say that you are, repairing a certain system, you better understand that system, because if you're questioned or you need to speak around some obstacles, you're going to want to give the person the impression that you understand what's going on. And then, of course, simplicity. I have seen many social engineers who try to layer in things like props, accents, very complex and detailed stories that are very specific to one person within the organization. And you really just don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. So it's always great to keep things simple, keep it so that you can be dynamic and in the moment. What if that person's out sick today and you've got to talk to somebody else? You want to make sure that your pretext will fly with them too. So keep your backstory simple, but have one. Keep your details limited, but have them just in case you need to pull them forward. But at the presentation of your pretext, initially, you want to give as little information as humanly possible so that your target doesn't have the need or the desire to come up with objections that could challenge your request. You want to give them as little information to process as possible. So what is the goal of a pretext? We kind of dipped into this a moment ago talking about simplicity, but essentially your subconscious is continuously scanning your environment for threats. It only notifies your conscious brain when it identifies a threat. And a good example of this is when you're driving, you only seem to notice the car that's too close when it's already too close. And that's because your subconscious brain only taps your conscious brain on the shoulder and says, hey, I need an adult. Make a decision when things have gone past the point of comfort. So we're trying to keep our target comfortable. And we want to avoid tipping off their subconscious that something doesn't feel right or something seems off. So we want to put their subconscious at ease, essentially, by using this pretext to demonstrate that we are, in fact, able to access the information we're asking for, able to go into the room that we're trying to get into, or our fish via email is coming from a trusted source. Of course, it's not, but that is the reason why we're exercising these pretexts in the context of a security assessment, to help individuals understand that there are very customized spearfish out there that could look completely normal and okay and not be okay. So a good pretext is our veil to obscure that threat or that risk to our target. So now we're going to talk a little bit about influence and Pretty Little Liars. How to elicit information. This is how a social engineer can use the powers of persuasion and compliance. And there are a bunch of really great books out there, but I would absolutely check out Robert Cialdini's book on influence if you would like to learn more about these principles specifically. If you've ever had a sales job, you may already be familiar with some of these because a lot of these principles are taught in sales training. We're going to discuss these very quickly. You're welcome to research them on your own, but essentially, similarity is used to try to demonstrate other people are doing this, so you, the target, should do this as well. Authority can be something as simple as Todd from IT calling on the phone. Todd has the authority in that instance to ask for stuff related to IT systems and passwords and credentials. He's demonstrating authority. It doesn't necessarily mean posing as somebody's boss, for example. Consensus is people like to do what other people are doing. So you can see this demonstrated by reviews on websites like Amazon. Most people will buy the thing that everybody else says is great and that everybody else is buying. Scarcity is the principle that the last thing or this limited window of time is more valuable than other time or other things that are available in larger quantity. And reciprocity is the principle of quid pro quo, which is this for that, directly translated. So if I give you a gift, you feel obligated to give me something back. And in the context of phishing, this is usually demonstrated by giving of information. For example, saying your name. Hey, my name's Jane. And the other person feels obligated to give you their name. The last thing that I wanted to discuss with relevant to these 6 principles is consistency. And this is the idea that humans like to remain consistent with what they've committed to previously or what they've done previously. So if you were to start your line of questioning with things that are pretty easy for people to share, names, job title, that kind of stuff. Once they've answered a few of your seemingly benign questions, then they'll be more likely to keep answering your questions because now you've built up some trust and they've built up this consistency of answering questions that you ask, and they will be far less likely to challenge you if you ask them more questions. But if you just go barreling right in there and ask them for, their password to their email, you're likely not going to get it. So these 6 principles are used to then build rapport, confidence, and then eventually gain trust and influence from the target. You want to avoid objections. That's the goal overall of the pretext, is to make it so that the target doesn't feel like they need to question you, who you are, where you're from, or what your reason for asking these things are. If they're asking questions and you have the ability to cut that conversation short and try someone else, I would encourage it. Wait another day, try somebody else, try a different pretext on the same person, do a little bit of extra digging and get more confident in the pretext that you had. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you don't forget to actually ask for the information. You can have the most incredible pretext with the most valid reason. They can believe everything that you're saying, and simply not asking for the information that you want can be the difference between success and failure. So OSINT, let's talk about open source intelligence and sneaky little liars. OSINT is one of my favorite things ever. And it's actually how I got into social engineering, was that I was comfortable with the OSINT because I've been doing some kind of open source intelligence gathering for the last 20 years professionally within the context of my, various jobs. So OSINT is different types of intelligence. OSINT is open source intelligence, and it can come from literally anywhere. The billboard on the side of the freeway is technically OSINT. You're learning information. It's a public source. It qualifies. Here are some other examples of OSINT on the right-hand side. We're also going to talk about HUMINT, or human intelligence. That would be like information that you learn through a phishing call. And SOCMINT is where we're going to focus the rest of this talk, because that is where we are going to find the majority of our information to form our pretext. And SOCMINT is social media intelligence. So when I have a business client, this is my typical roadmap for how I start my initial investigation, so to speak, and my discovery, to put together the information that I can find to then create a custom pretext for this specific business or target or client, depending on how you want to refer to them. So I start with the company website. Then I move over to Glassdoor, which is a company review website. I check out Indeed and the company's LinkedIn page and similar sites. Then I'll start to dig into employees, specifically on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, if they have it open and available to the public. And then we'll get into specifics. Like if I think, this might be a good pretext, but I need this specific piece of information, then I'll start to kind of drill down and get more specific and use things like Google Docs, web tools, OSINT tools that are available through various VMs, and then compile all this information to figure out what I'm going to use, what I'm not. Essentially, we are looking for anything we can learn about the company and their physical existence The company culture, Glassdoor is a great way to find that through the company reviews. Their technology, what laptops do they use? What, service providers are they using for various types of things? Online meetings, for example. And then learn more about their employees. If there's a specific employee that I'm going to target with a spearfish, then I need to understand who they are, what they like. Are they a parent? Are they not? Are they a pet owner? Are they not? Those types of things will really help me to craft something that they will respond to, likely positively for me, but not for them. So where to begin? Today, we're going to be looking at Facebook as our target company. And the first place that I mentioned that we need to start is facebook.com. And I'm not talking about your profile when you type in facebook.com and log in, but the actual company page. And if it's a website like this, that is a social media site or a platform for sharing, it may be a little bit tricky to actually find this page. But typically, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, somewhere around the settings and log out area, you're going to find something that says more about Facebook or contact or governance or something like that. And you'll be able to find these things. So we're going to take a look at Facebook's company website. So these are some things that I pulled in from the contact page, and I would encourage you to find these things about your target company as well. So explore their leadership, look for the bios of leadership people within the organization. What school did they go to? What accolades have they achieved? Do they have families? That kind of stuff can be useful when creating pretexts. You want to look for contact information. Maybe they put their email addresses on the website, and some companies really still do. Email addresses, direct phone numbers, you name it. You can sometimes find some really great stuff there. And it's the simplest place to look. Look at governance, careers, open job postings, their benefits, the culture of the company, what their mission is, charitable giving, and then any current notices. Especially now during the pandemic, they'll be likely sharing what they're doing specific to COVID-19, and maybe some processes have changed, and you need to be aware of that if you're going to pose as an internal employee, for example. So now we're going to take a look at the company review websites. And this is an example of Glassdoor. There are many company review websites, and I will encourage you not to limit your view to a single one, because you're going to find different reviews, different types of information on each one. So Glassdoor, Indeed, Great Place to Work, Comparability, Career Bliss, Vault, The Job Crowd, Kununu, which is just fun to say. These ones are all examples of company review websites, and you can Google a list of a bunch of them. But I would encourage you to go look at some of the other ones, because while employers are very engaged on LinkedIn and Indeed, and they monitor those things, and if something's super salacious or violates their terms and agreements with specific employees, they can have those things removed if it's not like a bad review, but like disclosing sensitive information. Whereas employers are not super engaged on some of the other smaller or lesser known company review websites, and you can find some more salacious, juicy details in those sites. So everybody loves free food. I like every single company that has free food, and Google is one of them. That is like the top most favorite thing. But I always go to the negative reviews first, because here's where I can really find a lot of good details about what's broken culture-wise in the company. And this is something that can be helpful to you. For example, the company that was my target for the most recent SECTF contest, I competed twice. Once I won, I wasn't allowed to compete anymore, but it was the last contest that was held just due to the fact that DEF CON was virtual last year. So I'm still the reigning champion. Anyway, this specific one, their internal employees were always complaining about the laptops. They didn't like them. They wanted them upgraded. So I crafted my pretext around this idea that I was calling from IT support, or rather calling from the headquarters to help IT support, putting together a list and verifying the different software and applications that these individuals needed on their computers before we imaged the new computers and then had them shipped out to them. So I called to say, hey, I'm Bethany. I'm trying to help IT support. It looks like your computer hasn't connected to the VPN in a while, and I just wanted to get a list of the software and the applications that you're using so that we can make sure that those are on your new computer before we ship them out. And these people could not help me fast enough. And it was all from the information that I learned through Glassdoor and Indeed reviews about how much people just did not like the laptops they were using. So this stuff, though it does take a significant amount of time to dig through all this stuff, it is a veritable gold mine. And don't limit yourself to just the text. Definitely check out the pictures. This picture here at the top is the day that Facebook Live went live. And they shared this picture, and you can see in here what types of monitors they have, that they are using an Apple desktop computer, the infamous trash can. And you can see that there's a lot of Apple laptops within the company that people are using as their work computers. And this is important to understand, because if you try to use a pretext or a fish that references something that is not used on an Apple machine, that's going to be less likely to be successful. This picture in the top right is not from Facebook, but it's too good not to share. This one picture has the individual's company ID badge, the business cards of vendors, resumes of potential applicants, proposals, an open laptop screen, all of the applications open, their mail client open, and the laptop itself, and various other things. And in fact, this picture is actually cropped. It's insane. So you can learn a significant amount of stuff through these company review websites. And here's another example. These are all Facebook. So this is the floor plan of the Facebook building. This is a desk, and it shows this individual is actually using a ThinkPad and some various other pieces of technology. And then of course you've got these folks over here using Apple machines with Dell monitors and some other stuff. So these are oftentimes uploaded by the company itself. And just, without even realizing it, they disclose things like their physical security and access controls, badges, the technology that they use, physical hardware, software, their dress code. If you're going on site, you want to be able to blend in. So if you show up in, clothes that doesn't really suit the atmosphere, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. The naming conventions of their meeting rooms is super helpful too, because you can say, hey, I'm scheduled to be in a meeting in this room, name it by name, and that's going to add an extra layer of authenticity to what you are claiming is going on. And then of course the building layout, super helpful, because you can plan where you need to dive into a bathroom and know that one is available. Because unfortunately, as a social engineer, and many social engineers will tell you this, there's a significant amount of time spent in bathrooms waiting for people to not be around, or until you feel that you're comfortable enough to exit the bathroom and do what you're supposed to be doing. So to continue with the company review website photos, some are also uploaded by the individuals themselves. So in this top right one, I've got, the printer. I could send an email about the toner cartridges for that specific printer and likely gain a response or a click through to a link or something like that. You have the cafeteria, and this is helpful if you're going on site, that you can, know the layout, know where to go, and make yourself look like you belong by going and get a cup of coffee and, that kind of stuff, just to make you look like you blend in and you know what's going on and you belong there. So you can learn things like about events, company events that are catered are great, because usually the caterers will share, to brag about their new client, they'll share those pictures on Instagram and geotag it to the location. You can learn about awards, the phones that they use, food vendors, break areas, what the lobby looks like, if they have a gym, vending machines, do they have free food, that kind of stuff is all super helpful. By the way, I learned that Facebook has like free cereal everywhere. I'm so down with that. And all these pictures that you're seeing from Instagram, these are things that I pulled based on using the address of the different Facebook buildings. So you would just find the address of the specific target location that you're going after, put that address into Instagram Places, and search to find any pictures that are geotagged to that location to find those things. Super helpful, sort of scary. So corporate brand media, a lot of bigger corporations, especially the Fortune 500 consumer products companies, are trying to both attract new talent, new people to work for them, and retain their skills or retain the talent that they already have. So they're trying to reassure their clients in the time of crisis that they're doing all the right things. And they're also trying to show their community that they're connected and engaged. And they're trying to demonstrate that their stuff still works and sell their stuff to the public still. So there's a lot of media that is being generated by companies. For example, AT&T, about what they're doing, how they're doing it. And a lot of these things are happening from their employees' homes, which is absolutely terrifying to me. But you've got the whole backdrop of these employees' houses, the technology that they're using, the things they have. And if you see like a Nest thermostat in the background, you could potentially fish that employee using a Nest fish. So there's all of these options that are just out there, using all of this information that is just being shared so freely and so openly, even from the companies themselves, not necessarily just their employees sharing on their own personal profiles, but from the actual company branded sites and social media profiles as well. So don't limit yourself. I mean, don't expect that you're going to find like the most sensitive information on these places. What I would say is the goal here is to find information that you can use to escalate up to a level where you're going to achieve learning the more sensitive information or gaining access to the system and kind of layering this attack until you reach your ultimate goal. I wouldn't expect to just go from 0 to success. This is a process. But sometimes you will find some crazy stuff out there. I found like floor plans that a contractor and architect had shared of a new building remodel for a client once, which was super helpful. I would also check out the job posting websites. The company website where they have their careers page, go there first. Then check out LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster. You can check out things like FlexJobs, The Ladder, LinkUp, Scouted, Snag a Job. Some of these require you to get a profile. Those first ones don't, and they're the most commonly used, but you can learn things like what kind of systems they use. If they're going to require that an applicant have an understanding of the Linux operating system, it's likely that they use that within their engineering department, for example. Same with C, C++, Python, all of these technologies, understanding specific protocols. You can then, surmise what type of systems they're going to be using and working with in the context of this job, and ultimately what the company is using at large for these various functions within it. So definitely check out the requirements. Sometimes they get sneaky and they say stuff like, different databases such as, and they'll list like 2 or 3 examples, and at least like one of those 2 or 3 things is what they actually use. Now moving on, we're going to look at mapping websites, and this is Facebook in Menlo Park, California. It is a giant cluster of buildings, and they stretch all the way out on all those little dots. But I blew up the main headquarter area, which is one hacker way in Menlo Park. And you can see they've got solar panels on the tops of all the buildings, giant parking area around it. That's going to help you figure out where you need to park your vehicle if you're going in, how you can get access to these areas and in these buildings and stuff like that. So this is good to know, but it's also great for looking for specific stuff if you go down to like Street View. And keep in mind, this isn't like a live satellite view. Like, this is a snapshot in time, right? So each different mapping tool, mapping website, is going to have a different snapshot. So don't limit yourself to just Google. Go check all the rest of them too, because there may be things in there that could be super helpful to you, just on a different day at a different time when those were taken. So check out Google Maps, Bing Maps, Google Earth, Yandex Maps, MapQuest, all of them, to see what you can find. And an example of that is this street view picture. When I backed up 10 feet, that van disappeared. So yeah, you're gonna have to tap your way down the street and see what you can find. But I learned that people at Facebook might use this company to do, health stuff, nutritional stuff. And maybe I can put together an email like, hey, it was great to do this, back in 2016 when this picture was taken. What about we do something this year, and use that as my fish? And I've built credibility because we have an existing relationship. And that's my pretext, is that I am from that company and I've already earned their trust. So don't forget, check out all the mapping stuff, and see what you can find, especially Street View, super useful. When I was doing the SECTF, there were a few things like the garbage service company and stuff like that. And you can usually make out what the company name is on the dumpsters and stuff like that if you can get them in Street View. Then we're going to look at the corporate social media. We're going to go to the company's LinkedIn page, look at their employees, and then, if you've got a specific employee that you plan to target, you can go look for their LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those types of things, and figure out who the oversharers are. And then you use the oversharers to find the people that think they've got good OPSEC or operational security. And maybe they don't say where they work on their profile, but they openly share views inside the building and of their desk and stuff like that. Meanwhile, their friend doesn't share anything sensitive, but they do identify themselves as an employee of that company. And you find in a comment that one of the two of them has commented on the other's post, and now you've made that connection. Like, both of these people work for the company. This one didn't say that she worked there on her profile, but she openly shares all this stuff, and now I know all these things. So having a little bit of extra time to do that research and make those connections is super helpful. Employee and visitor social media is the best. Employee social media is literally filled with amazing gold for you to use. And the way that I usually start finding these is, again, with Instagram, geolocated pictures that are geotagged to the location that I am tasked with collecting intelligence on. Employees overshare a lot. Visitors want to show off. Like, everybody who visits the Facebook building wants to show off that they were there. These people are generally oblivious to operational security. And let's go ahead and see what we can find. So this is a server rack, and then we have this woman, gorgeous woman here with her badge, and that I found within the first 2 minutes. I already had an employee badge. This lady down here has a visitor's badge. Again, visitors love to share that they have gained access to specific parts, but the thing that I found most helpful in this picture is the meeting room name behind her. This one right here, this is a sushi joint that did a make your own sushi day with Facebook employees. So again, totally awesome fish opportunity here to be like, hey, we did this event back in, I think it was 2017. Do you want to do another make your own sushi day? And click here to schedule type thing, or for more information, or for whatever. We're going to talk a little bit about badges. There's generally two different types of badges. There's a visitor badge shown on the left, and then an employee badge, which is on the right. Obviously, the employee badge is the one that's going to have the best access. But it's up to you to figure out if you need to badge in, badge out places, because if you just create yourself a badge, it's likely not going to help you get access to places that have to badge in and badge out, right? Unless you can come up with the reason why your badge ain't working today, which does work sometimes. I found these badges pretty easily, but you'll notice the one on the left, it was actually buried as the 5th photo. So don't forget to go through those multiple photo posts on Instagram to see if there's anything super useful hidden at the end. You can see this person's name clearly, who their employee contact is. They're a visitor of that person, the day that they're supposed to be there, and the time that they're supposed to be there. So if you're going to recreate this, you need to be able to have the structure and the layout similar to this. It looks like there's an NDA. This person's under NDA for their visit. I'm not allowed to share what they see or what they do. And it's on Instagram. And then you've also got this employee badge on the right here. This badge, you'll notice it's geotagged to the person's apartment building, not Facebook. So the way that I found this one was by searching the hashtag Facebook employee or Facebook badge. And then you can actually do this from, say, Google, if you use the URL that is shown there with any hashtag, just to make it a little bit easier to navigate. And sometimes you come up with some better stuff too, because sometimes natively inside Instagram, it doesn't show you everything, or it shows you what it thinks is relevant and not necessarily things posted in the time frame or the most recent posts. So you'll get to understand how LinkedIn search functions and Instagram search functions work, but sometimes it's just easier to review like mass amounts of data if you just use a web browser instead. So again, more employee social media. The woman on the top left, she's getting married, right? So now I know, A, this woman is getting married, B, she works for my target company, and C, she has an Apple computer and various other things. So this is really a lot of good information that I could use to craft a fish. I mean, what if I send her a fish, spearfish, about a bridal fair that's coming up or something like that? That's probably something that would be interesting to her. You've got this employee is a big fan of monsters, also has an Apple computer, also use a couple of tools there that we recognize at the bottom. And I covered up some of those. I apologize, but they're covered. And this could also lead to some more specific spearfishing efforts for that specific employee. And then people love to share work anniversaries. I noticed that Facebook is super duper engaged when it comes to sharing work anniversaries on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram specifically. They have these balloons made and they do a whole big thing, and that can help you. Like, send a fish to them about congratulations on your anniversary. Go to this link to pick from our catalog of, anniversary prizes or whatever. That actually does happen at big companies. Here you can see another person, they geotagged their photos to the building that they work in. So now I know this specific building looks like this on the inside and what to expect if I get in there. I also know that there's a registration tablet, something I've got to sign into. If I go in, I'm going to be expected to put stuff in there. And I know various other things about the software and the things that they use based on what is shown on these not so hidden screens. So now, just in case you're all falling asleep on me, employee social media, I would like you to tell me in the chat what you see in this photo specifically.
Looks like Outlook is opened.
Yeah, definitely Outlook. And then we can see that they have the Dell monitors, obviously. And we can also see that somebody is really enthusiastic about Express. And we can see that they are using a specific type of headset and a specific type of phone, which I found to be some of the most useful stuff. It does look like they also use Apple machines in this building. And what else? What else do you see, everybody?
In the chat, they see, phones, Dell monitors, Mac users, post-it board, yes.
This is right here. This is a Herman Miller Arion chair. These are pretty well known throughout like the corporate business world as being some of the most like high quality. I'm sitting in one right now. They're really great chairs, but you could potentially use them as, a means to creating a fish. I mean, really, it really can be that simple. And And that's why I like to say, just, keep it simple, be open-minded. Sometimes the simplest stuff works, and free pizza always works. Like free stuff always works. This is not specific to Facebook, but it was such a cool example that I wanted to bring this through. This is from AT&T. They had a post that was geotagged to the location from this Cafe 208. And I was like, is Cafe 208 just a business that's nearby that's trying to get new customers, so they tag the headquarters, or are they legitimately inside the headquarters? And thankfully, they were super helpful, and they let me know in their bio that they are literally inside of the headquarters of the building, and that they do all the catering, and they had their phone number and their email address in there for catering. So now I know that this is a food vendor inside the building of the headquarters. And I went into their posts and started to look through all the posts that were posted from this profile that may or may not have been geotagged to the AT&T headquarters building. And I found another post where there was a woman who had an ID badge, not an AT&T ID badge, but one specific to this cafe. And I'm thinking, if I want to gain access to the building, I don't want to have to recreate an AT&T badge. They've got like a hologram. It's hard to make them. What if I make a badge for this cafe and I pose as a cafe employee? Let's say I'm from corporate and I'm coming in to do training for one day of all these, employees. And my badge is probably going to be a lot less heavily scrutinized by the AT&T staff because they're not as familiar with that one. They don't wear it every day and they don't really know what it looks like. And I could probably get away with it not being perfect. So that's one way that you can kind of chain these things together and then come up with an idea for a pretext that may not be something that just, shouts at you the second you pull up the company's website. So now we're going to talk about compiling this information together, and then we're going to show a few examples of some pretexts. So perfect little pretexts. Here we go. You're going to create your pretext using the data, the information that you found. So your intelligence informs your pretext, not the other way around. I would very much discourage you from being like, I want to use a pretext where I'm an Italian businessman, and then go out and try to find all the information to support that. It's a lot more difficult than looking for information that's out there and then using that to create a pretext. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to take stock of all the information we found, determine what our options are, then make a few decisions about what type of pretext we're going to do, and then ultimately create the pretext. Big slide. Okay, so decisions to make. You need to decide, are you going to be internal or external? I'll tell you right now, internal is much more effective, sometimes harder to pull off, but much more effective. Are you going to use authority or empathy? It's a lot easier for me to be a complete wreck and disorganized and anxious and nervous and ask for empathy than it is for me to be super confident and have like an authoritative stance. So usually I will default to empathy because my superpower is that people tend to underestimate me. They don't tend to respect that I am, an expert in IT or something like that. Like I couldn't, and I've watched it happen, but I couldn't call them up and be like, hey, we're noticing some, inconsistencies on the logging for your router. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to walk over there and do some troubleshooting with me. Like that's not, they're going to be like, what reports? Who said that? Where are you from? So make sure that you pick something that really takes advantage of other people's unconscious bias. Unfortunately, we live in a world where bias exists. The great news for social engineers is that you can take advantage of those things and leverage them to your advantage. There's a very good reason why my hair is long and blonde, and that is because people open doors for women with blonde hair, and it's just a fact. If I have to go into a situation where I want to just gain access to a building without even asking for it, this is the wig I'm going to wear, basically, is what I'm angling at. If you're a dude and you want to gain access to a building, there are other types of biases that you can take advantage of. One, for example, and this does work for various other genders as well, but one of them is to dress like an executive, wear a suit and a tie, and people will just assume that you're a boss, that you are an executive member, that you are a client visiting the site and they don't want to look like they're not polite, and you might just be able to get in the door without even saying a word. So these are the types of things you want to make sure that you align your biases with the person that is your target, but also take advantage of their biases for your own means to your own goal. Emulate the culture of the company. If they all wear jeans, wear jeans. If they all wear business casual, you wear business casual, that kind of thing. Make sure that you're using the right jargon and keywords. Jargon is just words that are specific to that industry. For example, AT&T uses a point of sale system called Opus. And if you said something different than Opus, like you said, hey, can you log into OPUS with me really quick and look up the SIM card number? They would know you were full of it. Make sure that your pretext theme is decided, that you know how you're going to build rapport, something we didn't really have time to cover in this talk today, but that I do cover in the trainings that I do. Memorize the flags or the pieces of information that you want to get out of the person so that you can have a natural conversation with them that sounds totally normal, and elicit that information from them, pull them back in when you need to, segue into another vein of the conversation when you are able to, and pivot if you have to. So you want to collect all the information together, figure out who they are, who's your target, what do you need, what information do you have, and who you have to be today. So lastly, we're going to look at 3 examples of pretext really quick. The first one was the company was having a 5K. We sent them an email fish claiming to be the official t-shirt vendor for the 5K. And again, this is all going to be recorded and available later. If you have to jump off to a class, don't hesitate to do so. I will stick around and do Q&A and stuff, but you can absolutely reach out to me on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So we did t-shirt vendor. If, you know, we want to make sure we have all of your sizes in stock for this 5K. So please respond to this email and let us know what your size is so we have the appropriate inventory. And it was an Office 365 credential fish. The next one is the cafeteria. That's kind of why I focused on the cafeteria early on. But the cafeteria vendor can be super useful because, again, it's a third party. So the target may not be super up to speed on what their process is, on what their requirements and things are. So you've got a little bit of leeway, but you also have the right, if you can pose as a cafeteria employee, to be in that same space. And so for this one, I've used it a couple times, but most famously within the first time that I did the SECTF at DEF CON. And I claimed that I was a person that was going to do a presentation to the staff at the location, flying in from the headquarters. And I wanted to know more about how I was going to get through security. Do I need to sign in? Is your IT on site? So if I need help with my projector and configuring things, are they going to be there to assist me? And all of these things helped me to learn some of the required flags to get points for that contest. Finally, the sample pretext using charitable giving. This is another one that I talk about a lot, and that I used the first time that I did the SECTF. I really overdid it with this one, to be honest, because there was one person that was responsible for the charitable giving for this entire organization. So I customized the pretext way too heavily towards that one person. And I didn't get her on the first time, but I managed to get down to the receptionist and get the receptionist to then try her and transfer the call. And so even though I dialed her direct number and she didn't answer, she answered it when the receptionist transferred the call and I was able to talk to her. But I said that I was calling from one of the charities they'd worked with in the past, that we had sent her a PDF file earlier in the week. Had she received it, because we didn't get the form back, and we were trying to give them recognition for this campaign that they had recently completed where they were able to raise X amount of dollars. And I learned that X amount of dollars from their press release that they'd shared from the company. So that gave me validity to my cause. Well, of course, she never received a PDF because I never sent one. But what I was doing was setting up this feeling in her that she had somehow let me down and that she owed me. And it guaranteed that when I did send the email with the PDF attachment, that she would open it. And so that's exactly how I leveraged that kind of obligation out of her to commit to actually completing what I wanted her to do when I sent my fish. So these are all pretexts that came out of information that I gathered on the specific targets using the OSINT and social media intelligence gathering steps that we talked about today. In summary, pretexts are informed by your discovered intelligence. Don't try to do it the other way. It's just too hard. Social media is a tremendous resource, especially for phishing, and it's very, very dangerous to companies. So if you have the ability to demonstrate this for clients, I would absolutely encourage that you do, because the better handle we get on the flood of information that's going out to the public, the more well protected or less vulnerable our companies will be, because we're hardening that attack surface. To create a believable pretext, you need the intelligence, the insight into the information that you found to draw further conclusions, inspiration, influence, the ability to influence your target, and of course, imagination. And that wraps it up for me today. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that your days are all packed with classes and things to do, so I absolutely appreciate you coming out to spend time with us on your lunch. And I will hand it back to Jackie.
Thank you so much. She was amazing. Yes, social media, I can't. If you guys have any questions, there's a link in the chat, or you can come off mute. We have her for a few minutes because she does have to get back to some prior obligations, but if you have any questions, let us know.
If I may, Alethe, would you mind putting up the slide where you shared the ID badge again? I'd like to demonstrate a point.
The one where they're side by side?
Yeah, I was specifically the one that says Yang Yu.
The Facebook
Gotcha.
badge.
Yeah, could you please pull that up, please?
Yes, I'm going back. Let's see, where was that? All right, let me go ahead and share that really quick. Share screen. All right, there we go.
Perfect. Give me one moment. Let me screenshot that. Okay, cool. Would you mind to stop sharing right now, Alethe?
Sure.
Okay, guys,
He's
if you guys are working right now, or like if you get employed in a big company or whatever, you get ID badges, please, for the love of God, do not share it on social media. Because here, allow me to demonstrate my point. I'm actually kind of frustrated how easy this is. Like, okay, so this is the original
Yeah.
ID badge.
Yep.
I made this in 2 minutes.
Yep.
2 minutes, bro. Like, it is, I don't know.
And there are tools in use currently by social engineers that fit into a carry-on suitcase that sit onto a table, and you can just push a button and it would print that image onto a plastic card. All you need to do is make it look reasonably believable enough to pass a passing glance inspection. And yeah. And companies like this have so many employees, they're not going to check every single individual. They're just not.
Absolutely. And thank you again for sharing this, Alethe. Again, I'm sorry. I was just so annoyed
No,
by how
I know.
easy that is.
No, I know. And you know what? The one that I shared for AT&T, it actually said who the on-site contact was, and it gave the employee's ID, like company ID number. And with AT&T, their company ID number is also their email address. And it's what they use to log into various systems. So it's like, guys, it's mind-boggling, the information that people share just because they think that it's innocuous and, useless information in most cases.
Yes. I can attest to that. And we had to do a little bit of OSINT for the social engineering CARE
Yes.
CTF. there's some of that we can talk the podcast, we did the podcast, so we were able to share a little bit of the OSINT things that we did. But she's right, badges are huge. I'm always appalled when I find information, even on social media, whether that's your vaccine card. I know everyone's posting their vaccine cards, and you can see like the patient ID number, and it's like, be aware, like
Super
I'm a
scary.
nice person, but like if I was malicious, I could just pull those, the hospital records, the where you went, the date, the type of vaccine. So just be careful what you're posting on social media. A picture is definitely worth 1,000 words. Athletes
And I know,
did amazing as always.
I know that a lot of you are like, well, you know, I don't have any clients to sign statements of work for me to do this stuff. How do I practice these skills without it being, you know, malicious or seemingly poor intentions, right? So there are a few different ways that you can participate in contests that use these skills and will help you hone these different skills and gain new knowledge through the course of competing with those various organizations. Number one, the collegiate SECTF. We are doing it again this year, and I'm very happy to report that I will be a judge again this year. I'm super, super, super excited because it was so much fun last year. So yes, please ask your FAST team for more information on that if you want to get involved. Then secondly, Trace Labs. So thank you, person in chat. Yes, Trace Labs is absolutely wonderful. Amber, perfect segue. That's where I was going next. They have one happening this Saturday. It starts at 1 p.m. Tickets are still on sale. You can form a team of up to 4 people. You don't have to have a team. You can do it solo just to try it out and see what works. But it's nice to have a team of people that you can collaborate with and hang out with for the day. Pack your adult diapers. But seriously, get a ticket, go participate. There's no level or like prerequisite or whatever. Just smash any of your imposter syndrome feelings and go do it, because I learned so much just volunteering as a judge for Trace Labs before I could even compete. This was before they did like virtual contestants. And you get to see some incredible OSINTing for people who are literally missing and literally need to be found. So it's an incredible organization to get involved with, and it's also a great way for you to learn new things, practice your skills, and get better at doing some OSINT.
Yes, 100%. And then I know you said this beginning, but for anyone who joined late, are they able to contact you via LinkedIn or Twitter? She's super
Yes.
active on all platforms, especially Twitter. It's really fun to engage and see. You actually have an event coming up with Critical Insight this Thursday.
This
Would you like
Thursday,
to talk about it so that way
we're
we can
doing
join?
Yeah, absolutely. You can join if you go to ci.security or just go to detect and respond at detect respond on Twitter. You can learn more about how to register for that event through the Critical Insight website. When you register, you'll get a link from Livestorm so that you can join that webinar. But we're going to be talking about phishing, ransomware, and then one of our teammates is going to be doing a live demo. So we're tempting the demo gods, come watch us fail. But we're going to be talking about phishing, ransomware, and doing a demo so that everyone can see what an attack looks like from a pen tester's perspective. So that should be a lot of fun. And then what else am I doing? Oh, I am doing a vishing workshop at B-Sides Dublin. It is going to be virtual, so anyone can attend, and it is super, super accessible, because with B-Sides Dublin, you pay for a ticket to the conference and you get access to all the workshops and all the talks and all the things. So there'll be more on my Twitter. My Twitter is at Alethe Denis. I'm pretty much the only Alethe that's on Twitter. And for LinkedIn, it's just linkedin.com/in/Alethe, and you will find my profile. And you're welcome to connect with me there. I have a bazillion recruiters and staffing folks that I'm connected to as well, so it will broaden your network and could be beneficial. So yes, absolutely reach out to me with any questions. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for having me. It was truly a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, we'll post everything in chat. I will slide in her LinkedIn as easy access, but we'll definitely post everything that she's talking about, including critical insights. I actually signed up, so I will be going.
Awesome.
And besides this fun, I'm excited. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate Athletes. We know you have kiddos to attend to, so if you have to drop, we
Sure.
understand. But thank you so much to everyone, to Athletes. She's one of my favorites. So thank you again so much. We're super excited to have her today.
Yeah, I sincerely appreciate it. So best of luck with all your classes, and hopefully you guys finish the year strong. Don't hesitate to reach out anytime.
Got
Thank you
it.
so
Thank
much,
you
Alethe.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you so much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Take care. All right, guys. If you have anything else, thank you for